Welcome back, my fellow freedom lovers, and I have got something for you SIG fans out there today in the way of this custom slide from Live Free Armory. Now, if you're into that SIG-alicious thing, let me know in the comments down below. But the aftermarket parts offerings for the SIG P320 platform has been blowing up. SIG themselves have gotten into it. Custom slides, that fire control unit, polymer 80. Everybody is seeming to starting to do something for the SIGs like they do for the Glocks. And we're going to get into this slide, but first, a word from today's sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by Factory USA. If you are looking to up your Glock trigger game and get rid of that nasty feeling stock trigger shoe, whether you have a Gen 3 all the way to a Gen 5, maybe even that 43 or any other slim line, Factor's got you covered. And if you want to get a magwell that actually works with all the back straps, well, Factor's got one of those too. Check them out online and use code TC10 for 10% off. Factory USA. The aftermarket community for the SIG stuff is absolutely blowing up. Now that SIG has released that fire control unit, you can quite literally get a slide like this one from Live Free Armory, a frame, whatever parts you want to fit your desires or needs, and build a full custom setup, making things very easy thanks to the aftermarket and SIG as a company releasing the parts you need to build whatever you want, however you want. Between barrels and comps and triggers, the slides, everything, it's like a SIG buffet. You just get to pick and choose every little piece you want to throw on your plate and build what you want so you can have it your way. It's like McDonald's. I'm really just loving it. You know, up until recently, the only other pistol that saw stuff like this coming out from so many different companies in the market was the Glock platform, but now even the grip module from Polymer 80 just gives you something absolutely amazing. Got that great angle to work with. You got magwells, barrels, everything. You're just tying it all together for that 320 platform. Now, I haven't always been the biggest fan of SIG, but recently I have tried out the X series, and now with this custom stuff that's coming out, I'm getting into it deeper and deeper. Now, Live Free Armory's got a couple of different cuts for this, and they actually make Glock slides as well. So there are two different prices. They do cut them for the RMR. We're gonna get into all that stuff up close here. And we are gonna talk about a problem that I had, but it wasn't with the slide. It ended up coming down to being the parts kit that was in it. And I'll kind of tell you what was going on with that when we look into this thing up close. Now, Live Free Armory has two different cuts on this slide. This one is the 320 Elite, and they have one without the windows. But you know, I just kind of had to have the one with the windows. So when they asked me if I wanted to test this out, they sent this one out to the channel. This thing is turning out to be really nice, especially on a full build like this. Well, let's go ahead and let's get into this thing. Let's check it out up close, see how it is wearing, and talk about that issue that I had in there. But make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, turn those bell notification icons on, and if you are digging the SIG thing, well, even if you're not digging the SIG thing, just give that video a thumbs up. You can go ahead and check out any of the links down below. I'll leave links for this stuff if I can, and definitely check out Shall Not Comply for all that swag for the channel. It really does help me out over here. But we're gonna go ahead and get into this slide right now. All right, let's go ahead and get into this Live Free Armory slide right here. I gotta say, this thing is really nice to look at. Definitely clean looking work here. Let's just go ahead and start from back to front on this. Now, there are two cuts. So this is the 320 Elite, so LF 320 Elite, and then you have a kind of more standard one without the windows and stuff. A little bit cheaper on that one. So we got really good rear serrations right here. You can see they are quite nice. They are going to be very usable, and they really do provide plenty of texture to get a hold on. Moving forward, it's everything normal as SIG, your area for your barrel in there. Come up and you've got some really nice windows up here that are kind of recessed. So there's actually two different cuts, which kind of provides almost serrations up here, but it's a really nice look, and it really has done, is very well done. I mean, good work all around. The machine work all the way around this thing is very nice. You do have some angle kind of ports on the top right there if you were to get a, say, a ported barrel. Very nice, very angular right there. And you have your standard SIG sight cuts out there front and rear. I just don't have any sights on it because I don't know which ones I want to go with yet. Very nicely chamfered off in the front, you can see right here, so it'll match up with those X full, like X5 frames very nicely. And then kind of that cutout in the front, which is very clean and very nicely done as well. As you can see, I've got this paired up with that Swamp Fox here. That is the Liberty with the outer protective shield. Got to say, pretty impressed with that optic. Standard RMR cut on the slide from Live Free Armory. Looks quite nice. Let's go ahead, break this down, take a good look inside here. I'm running this polymer 80 barrel as well. That's in for testing. We'll do more on that thing a little bit later. So what we'll check out here right now on this slide is just kind of the internal workings of it. I got a few hundred rounds through it. Ammo's tight right now, guys. You know, normally I'd like to get, you know, a little bit more than I have through this, but the way things are is the way things are. So good, clean work in here. Wearing pretty well. Only issue I can see right there is just a little tiny bit of wear. Real tough to see. A little bit of shiny spot right there, but that's it. Frames, where the frame rails go, doing very well up in here. Everything is what I would expect out of something that is toleranced right. Little tiny bit of wear up in there that you can see, and that's likely just from the barrel itself. So not bad at all. You know, everything I would expect from an aftermarket slide going on here. Now I did run into a problem with the parts kit here. So Grey Ghost Precision, this parts kit, I got it in here and I just kept having problem after problem. Failure to load around, failure to chamber around, failure to chamber around. Well, what it actually was, Grey Ghost sent, I got this parts kit. There was something wrong with it. I had to break down every single piece of that striker assembly to figure out what it was, try a different one, figure out which part was bad. What it came down to is there's a little tiny spring in the middle of that striker assembly. There's the return spring, which gives it enough pullback there to reset the striker. That spring was not in there when it was sent out by Grey Ghost because the striker assembly comes assembled. It just wasn't there. So every time I fired around, the next round would be caught on the striker right there because the striker wouldn't retract all the way because that little spring in there was missing. So yeah, thanks for wasting a little bit of my time there, Grey Ghost. Took me about 3 hours to figure out which piece was bad after messing with it for a while. Other than that, this thing looks slick and it has worked 100% reliable out there once I figured out what that part problem was, and that was no fault of the people over at Live Free. And just a little bit of an oversight from the people at Grey Ghost. But one more look at that thing, it's dead sexy. Just all the way around looks nice. And that is a nitride coating. They do offer a couple of different colors. They've got Glock slide. They've got 2 versions of this one. And it looks good. Overall, this thing's nice. Testing out that mag well for that polymer 80 frame as well. Really liking how this thing looks and how this works. If you haven't tried the polymer 80 frames on your 320, such a nice grip angle. Deep accelerator cuts right up in there. Thing is just awesome. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about that range footage, the price on this thing, and all that good stuff. Yeah, that thing is just mean looking. You saw for yourself up close. They just did a really good job on that. And sometimes when companies are coming out with their first iterations of things, you can have some problems. Fortunately, Live Free Armory actually makes a bunch of different stuff for a bunch of other companies under different brand names. So their manufacturing is pretty good to go at this point. Let's talk a little bit more about that issue I had with the actual parts kit. So I got it from Grey Ghost. There was a problem. It came assembled, so I know it wasn't me that lost the spring, but there's a little tiny spring that goes up inside that 2-piece striker assembly, and that spring was not there. Basically, I just had to go through piece by piece, finding out what was wrong. I was out on the range, it wasn't working. I thought it was the slide. I was cursing the name of Live Free Armory. Turned out it was not, and it didn't have anything to do with the slide. It was the actual Grey Ghost parts kit in it. So that little tiny striker return spring was not in there. Once I narrowed it down to that piece and I checked a couple other striker assemblies that I have for the SIG, I was able to order a couple, get that in there, but thank you, Grey Ghost, for wasting my time and money on this. But anytime you are getting something and building it from the ground up, be prepared to go through each and every single piece to get that thing functional. You may run into some tolerance stacking depending on which parts you go with, or you may run into something like I did where the parts kit was missing an actual minute sized spring inside the striker where the striker fits in the barrel with a secondary string over it. So you might have to go searching for something or call a buddy that knows more than you do. So after that was all figured out, this thing ran like an absolute banshee. It was a lot of fun out there, especially on this P80 frame. I can't say enough good about that P80 frame. The angles on that thing are almost perfect. Very natural point of aim on there. The Swamp Fox Optic is turning out to be pretty good. I will have a review on that soon, and of course that barrel as well. But in all, I am very happy with the quality of this slide. It's wearing in nice. I wish I had more rounds through it. I've only got a few hundred through it, but ammo is tough right now. Everybody's feeling it. I'm still trying to do what I can with things, but I just don't have the ability to put 500, 600, 700 rounds through everything I'm testing at this point. Well, let's go ahead and talk about price, because I know you guys have been waiting for that. So there are two models, like I said. One that's a little bit more basic, but still looks very clean. Then you have the LF320 Elite, which is what this one is. So they have blems and they have non-blems, and don't be afraid of blems. If you guys have ever built, say long rifles, blem lowers are kind of where it's at, because it's usually just a minor imperfection in the coating. So this one for a blem was right at like 200, and then the other one I think was 189, and they ranged up to about 289 the last time I looked at the website. For a full slide with cuts like this in a Cerakote choice of your color, that's pretty good. The only slides, like say in the Glock world, that really get around that for the quality are going to be those Brownells ones, especially with serrations and windows and a cut for an RMR. It's really all about which one you want. Like I said, it's like McDonald's. I'm loving what they're doing with the SIG stuff. I'm loving the aftermarket for the SIG stuff. And I've kind of really just jumped into that 320. Now I know some people want to still bring up that trigger thing, and somebody's gonna post it down below. I made some phone calls today. I talked to some people in the industry that make aftermarket parts for this, and they drop test and do tests that none of us are going to do to these things. And they assured me that they have found zero issues, especially after that fix that's been out. So I know somebody's gonna bring that up, and I definitely wanted to address that right away before that gets flying through the comment section any more than it probably is already going to. Well, I hope you guys liked seeing the video on this LF320 slide from Live Free Armory. The thing is absolutely sick. It ran perfect once I figured out that issue with the striker assembly from Grey Ghost. If you guys are interested in anything you see here down below, I will leave those links, but you gotta check my website or the first link in the description, because YouTube doesn't allow this. If you want to support the channel, you can check any of those links out. You can go to the subscribe store, or you can definitely check out Shall Not Comply for that tactical consideration swag, or Reno May if you're into the California 2A rights thing, or definitely Johnny B. You guys get out there, enjoy some range time. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready, and I will see you guys on the next one.